Do you know that assumptions can land you in jail? Okay, let me explain. I remember listening to Chimamanda Adichie speak about the danger of a single story about 15 years ago. At the time, I was a teenager and a message stuck with me. My understanding of a message revolved around how we often form cultural assumptions based on our limited narratives. For example, growing up in Africa, I saw stories from movies and books that painted sort of like the Western countries as some fairy tale ideal places. On the other hand, I knew that many Westerners assumed Africa was mostly rural with sort of like simple structures and traditional lifestyles. It's a bit different now with social media making things more transparent. But back then, those perceptions felt relatable and one-sided. And that's the danger when we assume we know the whole story based on one single perspective. This highlights an important truth. Stories, perspectives, and even facts shared by one person should be cross-checked and balanced, And here's what I mean. Imagine two people are in an argument and one comes to you first to share their side. It's natural to start to believe the first story, but without hearing the other side, you don't have the full picture. Often, when we finally hear both sides, we realize that our first impression was incomplete or even misleading. The reality is that no two people will have the same experience, so their perspectives will be different. I had to grow into understanding this personally. At one point, I struggled to accept that people could be so culturally different from me. I would find myself getting frustrated and even bitter, in disagreements because I expected others to see things from my own point of view. Now, I've learned to listen better, to truly hear stories others bring, and it has helped me, understand their background, why they think the way they do, and why they reach certain conclusions. So, this brings me to a biblical lesson that speaks on wisdom and understanding. If we look at Proverbs chapter 18, verses 13, it says to answer before listening, that is folly and shame. It's clear that God values complete understanding, and rushing to conclusions without full knowledge can lead us astray. We are called to seek the truth by seeking understanding, which means patiently hearing others before we form our own opinions. Let's also consider James chapter 1 verses 19, which tells us to be quick to listen, slow to speak, and slow to anger. In our fast-paced world, it's easy to skip the listening part and jump straight to judgment. But the Bible encourages us to seek wisdom by being patient and truly open to learning, even when it challenges our assumptions. In conclusion, don't just rely on cultural or one-sided stories. Take the time to listen, to understand, and to ask God for discernment. Remember, assumptions can mislead us, but patience and seeking the truth bring us closer to true wisdom.